Sorry. So these are the things which we are going to cover in AWS EC2. Okay. Today I will discuss about Linux basics. What are the basic Linux commands we are using in server? And in tomorrow's class, I am going to teach how to create users in the Linux and how to give password authentication to the user. What are the different authentication methods and how to enable what do you say password policies to the user. Means if you create a user in Linux like RAM or something, and you will set user password to that user, right? Like for example ram at the rate 123 or like that. So my use case is I will give my username and password to the user, and he should be able to change his password after first signing. So all these authentication methods and how to give root privileges to the user and everything we are going to see in tomorrow's class. Today first we will understand what is servers, what are AWS cloud compute instances, what are the types of instances, and what is the size of the instance you need to take for the application. Okay. How AWS will deploy your EC2 instance in their backend data centers, everything I will explain you in detail. Okay. Okay, fine. So let's go to AWS EC2 console. This is my EC2 console. Okay, I'm going to instances. Okay, and I'm going to launch one new instance. In AWS, servers are called as instances. Okay, so I'm launching instances. So here if you see, we have different types of AMIs, right? AMI is nothing but Amazon Machine Image. Means we have AMI for Amazon Linux, Red Hat Enterprise, Ubuntu, okay, Windows AMIs, like that we have so many AMIs, okay, which we are going to use Ubuntu Server 18.04 LTS. Okay, select this. Okay, you will find instance families, okay, like T2, T3, C5. In this you will have different types of instances like memory optimized, general purpose, storage optimized. So before going to production, you will benchmark them. Okay, your lead or your architect will benchmark, means what is the best size your application can handle, what is the best size of the server that which your application can handle. So as of now, today I am going to launch a server with T2 micro, for which we are getting one virtual core CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Okay, basically this is free tier. Okay, it is free for 750 hours. Okay, you can use it for free up to 750 hours, this server. After that they will charge you. Okay, and if you go with T2 small and T2 medium, these are hourly based pricing. So the instances which you are going to launch now is on demand instances. What is on demand? So instance type C, we have three types of instances, instance types. One is on demand, and another is reserved, okay, and another one is spot requests. In interview they'll ask you a question. So how many types of instances are there? What are the instance types? What do you will say? We have on demand, we have reserved, we have spot requests. The instances which we are launching now is called on demand instances, and for these instances billing will be per hourly basis billing it will be. Okay. The next, configure instance details. So how many servers you want? Okay, how many you want? Only one. I'm launching as of now one server. Okay, in this I'm not going for spot requests. I will explain you what are spot requests. This network, choose your VPC. So basically I am launching in default VPC. Okay, AWS will give you one default VPC for you. Yeah, you can use that, but for that I can get billing now if I launch in a private subnet. We can use, you can use public subnets and internet gateway. We will for that they will not charge. So by default AWS is giving me on default VPC. I'm going to launch server inside this VPC. Okay, and what is a subnet? Subnet I'm choosing in API and South IPN 1A. I have one subnet. In 1A I will build this one. I'm choosing subnet. In this subnet I'm going to launch my server. Okay, and see if I select this auto assign public IP. Okay, inside this I'm going to launch my server, right? Automatically AWS is going to assign one public IP address to me. Okay, placement group. See, placement group guys are nothing but for higher communication. If you have 5 servers, those 5, let's take a use case that 5 servers want to communicate with each service, each server On that time, what we will do is we'll add all these servers in the placement group for higher communication. Like for example, let's take an assume. For example, you all are familiar with Ola, right? So how Ola backend architecture will be? See, for example, user books for a write, right? User books for a write. Okay. Have you heard about Zookeeper? Zookeeper. Okay, fine. So what will happen? Ola backend. If user books for a ride, what will happen? Sorry. DevOps. So what will happen if user books for a ride? What will happen? Automatically that request will go to the drivers nearby. Okay. User books for a ride, request will go to nearby drivers. Okay. See, for example, there are, for example, 100 drivers in your area, and there are, for example, 2000 requests, 2000 rides bookings done by the user. So how Ola drivers will receive those requests? There they are going to use a Zookeeper as a cluster. Inside that they are going to use Kafka, Apache Kafka. Okay, Apache Kafka. See, what this Apache Kafka will do is, Apache Kafka is a message streaming platform, okay, which can handle millions of requests per second. Okay, for example, let's assume I am a driver. I will accept the ride, right? For example, if I reject the ride, what will happen? The scenario, automatically Kafka should transfer that request to another driver. Okay, so like that the backend works. So inside this, if the Kafka is down, you cannot able to book the ride, right? So to maintain Kafka, for example, if they are maintaining 5 to 10 servers, Kafka servers, all those servers they will keep it in the placement group, such that for that they will get higher communication between the servers. So we use placement group for that, and we are already using internet gateway. Yeah, we are using internet gateway. You are asking that by default servers will communicate with each other. Okay, the different availability zones. But for higher communication, we are going to use placement groups. Okay. See, and as of now, I'm not using any IAM rules and all. Okay. Here, one more important thing is, guys, tenancy. You need to remember tenancy. So, what is tenancy? For example, you are going to launch a server in the AWS. How AWS is going to deploy your server in the backend? That you should know. Okay. See, so this is AWS data center. Okay. This is AWS data center. Let's assume, like we can say, which data center? Like API-South-1. Okay, API-South-1 availability zone. Okay, API-South-1 availability zone. Now, what you are going to do? You are going to provision one new EC2 instance. Then, how the server is going to deploy in this this data center? So basically, what data center consists of? Hardware, right? So it consists of some larger number of CPUs, GPUs. So it consists of some large number of CPUs, GPUs, and memory and all, right? So let's assume these are your hardwares in the AWS. Okay, this is some hardwares in the AWS data center. Okay, this is, let's assume, hardware 1. Okay, and let's assume this is a hardware 2. Let's assume this is a hardware 3. So if you launch an instance, there are 3 types of tenancies. One is shared tenancy, one is dedicated instance, and another one is dedicated host. So what is this? What if, while teaching VPC, I told you tenancy I will cover in EC2, right? So what will happen if you launch an instance in the shared tenancy? See, what will happen means, if you launch an instance in the shared tenancy, let's assume this is your EC2 server, and tenancy you selected as a shared tenancy, like, right? So what AWS is going to do is, AWS is going to your provision your EC2 instance in any one of this hardware. Okay, like your instance can go and sit in this hardware or this hardware or this hardware. Okay, okay, fine. Now there is another organization. Okay, another organization server. They also launch an instance in the shared tenancy. What will happen? What will happen? This instance also have chances to come on sit on this hardware. Okay, you may get doubt that if my different organization servers can come and sit on this hardware, what will happen? There is a chances of data breach, right? So in order to overcome this situation, what AWS did is they designed their architecture in such a way that different servers from different clients can come and sit on the same hardware in the backend AWS data centers. Okay. For example, if you got a doubt and if you ask AWS, if you took a call to AWS, and if you ask that, what if I launch the shared tenancy model for my instance? Simply they will give you HIPAA compliance. HIPAA compliance guidelines will be there. It's like a health insurance policy which they have developed. So they will provide you all clear-cut documentation and they will give you white papers that different customers servers can also come and sit on this hardware and there will be no security breach. They will give you guarantee. Okay. And what if you selected a dedicated instance? See, if you selected a dedicated instance, your instance, this hardware will be dedicated for you. So AWS will give you one dedicated hardware for you. Okay. All the instances which you launch in the dedicated instance tenancy will sit and come in dedicated hardware. Like H2 is the dedicated hardware. So instances will come and sit in this hardware. Okay. What if this instance goes down? What if, for example, if this hardware goes down? For example, in backend AWS data centers, this hardware got some issue. What will happen? Automatically, your servers will go and sit in another dedicated hardware. Like an AWS will give. Similarly, here also in shared tenancy, if this hardware comes down, what will happen, guys? You need to just stop the instance. Again, you need to start. Then automatically server will provision and sit in new hardware. So these are the basic things I'm telling you. Just what will happen in the backend data. So what will happen if you launch the instance in the dedicated host? So if you launch the instance in the dedicated host, they will give you dedicated hardware. But if this hardware gets an issue, if you stop and start the instance, your servers won't go to next dedicated hardware. So that is only the drawback in this. For that, what you need to do is you need to call to AWS and you need to raise a support ticket and you need to talk with them. Then they will change the hardware in the backend. Okay. And for example, see, you get a doubt that what if I launch the instance in the dedicated instance, one instance, I launch in the dedicated instance tenancy. Means AWS is giving me one dedicated instance for me. I mean, one dedicated host, the data center. So the instance which I launch will go and sit in this hardware, right? So you may get doubt that what if I launch another instance in the shared tenancy? One instance you launched in dedicated instance, another instance you launched in shared tenancy. What is shared tenancy model? Random. Okay. By randomly, it can go and sit in any hardware, but the instance which you launch in shared tenancy have chances to go and sit in your dedicated hardware also. Okay. Got it? So next. Yeah, in shared tenancy, if the, for example, if AWS backend hardware gets any issue, then your server will stop working. Then what you need to do? You need to stop your server and you need to start again. Then your server will start working. It will go and assemble new hardware. Exactly. So once it is resolved, it will come back to. No. It will be like that only. Why will they again the shared tenancy? Huh? It will come under shared tenancy. Yeah, it will be come under shared tenancy. Yeah. Okay. Next, add storage. So this is the disk size in which you can give whatever the size you want, like 32 GB or 64 GB or 128 GB. This is the disk size for your server. Okay. And this is a we call root volume. Okay. We have different types. Okay. Root volume and EBS volume. This is also a EBS volume, and we call it as a root volume because this volume will be created by the creation of server itself by default. So size you can mention here only. So if you want, you can add extra volumes to your server also, and you can mount. Okay, and volume type is SSD. See, general purpose SSD GP2 we are using, means solid state drive. In this read write operations will be very fast. Okay, read write operations will be very fast, and magnetic AWS is going to remove this thing. It's a very dead slow actually. Okay, like that standard provisioned IOP is also somewhat slow, and we are going with SSD only, solid state drive. Okay. Next, tags. Tags is nothing but just for identification you are going to create. Like what is the server name you are going to give name. Name is I will give demo hyphen server. Okay. And another tag I am going to give created by funny. Like that, for identification you can give any number of tags. Okay. Next, configure security group. So in DevOps, not only DevOps, DevSecOps, security also you are going to manage. So what are the ports I am opening? What are the required ports I need to open? You have to know. So for this server, in order to log into this server, what I require, guys? By using SSH, we will log into the server. We'll communicate to the server using SSH. So basically SSH runs on which port? Port 22. So that's why I'm opening SSH port 22, and I'm creating one security group called demo new security group. Okay. Demo new security group 2, and description you can write anything. Security group created for demo new server, like that I'm doing. Okay. So as of now I'm not going to add any rule, just I'm deleting this rule also. Just I'm launching the instance. Okay, I'm launching the instance with basic configuration. Okay, key pair, create new key pair. So key pair of I'm giving demo new 1. Okay, download key pair. Okay, and launch instance. Okay, now I created one server. Okay, now I created one server. Okay, now I created one EC2 instance. It's loading. So what I have to do, guys, I need to log into this server. Yeah, it is into running state. What I will do, I will first log into this server. See, I launched this instance in public subnet 1A availability zone. Automatically AWS will send me one public address, public IPv4 address, as well as one DNS name. Okay, I'm going to launch this. I'm going to log into this server. How I'm going to log in? Remember this command. Okay, go to any of my terminal. Okay, as of now I'm using git bash in my local. Okay, so how we are going to log into the server? See, SSH. Okay, SSH -i, your key pair which you have downloaded, private key. So it is in my downloads actually. SSH -i demo new 1.pem Ubuntu your public IP address. Okay, so this is the command to log into your EC2 instance with private key. Okay, enter. Why I am not able to log in? Any guess? I'm not able to log into the EC2 server. So how will you troubleshoot? Simple. What I did while creating security group, basically via SSH I'm connecting to the server, right? Basically SSH runs on which port? Port 22 SSH. So I haven't opened the port. So just go to EC2 instance and go to security. Go to security and click on your security group. And check the inbound rules. There is no inbound rules. I have opened. Edit inbound rules. SSH port 22 from anywhere. From anywhere, accept the SSH connections. Save rules. Now go to your terminal and hit the same command. Right. So I need to check the why I am not able to connect. Still, I have opened SSH port 22 from anywhere. Still, there is a issue while connecting. Okay, let's see the VPC subnets. Which subnet, guys? Which subnet we are using? Subnet ID. Okay, there is a proper route. Still, I am getting issue. Okay, fine. I think there is a networking issue. Let me launch my ISO instance. Same instance. I'm terminating this. Launch instance. In my own VPC. Okay. I think I have deleted some gateways in. Okay. This says 8 GB. Add tags. Configure security group. I'm creating one new security group. No. 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 Okay, I created one new server. Okay, again. Okay, it's in running state. Let me try to log in. Okay, sh hyphen a demo new server internet IP address. State. Okay, still it will take some time. Health check is initializing. Let this complete. This is Git Bash actually. Okay, and I have installed Windows subsystem for Linux also Ubuntu terminal. Deleted. TFIA, TFIA, associations. Yeah. So I will go logged into my server. see, if I'm logged into Ubuntu user, by default, you should log into Ubuntu user. Okay. So now what I will do, I'm logged into root user with sudo space -s. You're going to server as a root user. Okay. So now let's talk about some basic Linux commands. So first Linux command, what you need to see is, see Linux commands. First command is, you need to know about PWD, present working directory. Okay. Present working directory means in Linux, in which folder you are, in which current folder you are. Okay. Basically, for Ubuntu user, that default home directory is /home/Ubuntu. So, for example, if I create a new user with Ram or someone, his home directory would be /home/Ram, like that. Okay. PW is nothing but home directories, present working home directory. Present in which folder you are working. For example, if I went to cd/var log. Now, if I hit pwd, where I am in under /var-log, /log. Okay. Now, if you want to go back to one step back, cd change directory to dot. If you give two dots, you will get one step back. Okay. See, pwd means present working directory, in which path you are. Okay. Next. So ls. If you hit ls, so what are the list of items is there inside this var folder? Everything you are getting. Okay. And if I want count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There are total 13 items inside this var folder. How do I get count? So ls pipe space word count -n. Okay. So ls is the command. Next command is ls is the command to list all the items in your present working directory. Okay. And if you want count, ls pipe word count -l to get the count. Okay. And for example, I am creating. See, if you wherever you are in Linux, in which folder you are, if you hit cd space tilde symbol, you will get to your current home directory. Okay. Into my home directory, right? So here what I'm doing is, now I will create one folder. So in Linux, how we are going to create a folder? Mkdir means make directory space funny enter ls folder got created, right? Now I'm switching into that folder. How I'm switching? cd space funny. Okay. Now where I am inside home Ubuntu, I created a folder called funny. I am inside funny folder. So I'm going to see. Have you understood, right? Mkdir command. Mkdir. Okay. Next command is, inside funny directory, I want to create two files. One is sample.txt and another one is sample.json. How I will create two files? Touch sample.txt. Enter. Next touch sample.json. ls. Two files are created, right? Two files are created inside funny folder, right? See, hit pwd. Where I am inside home Ubuntu, inside funny, I created two files. Okay, got it? Touch is the command to create a files. Touch. Next command is cp command, copy. For example, I'm coming out, I'm coming one step back. cd dot ls. Where I am funny, right? I'm creating one more folder called mkdir funny2. Okay, ls. Now I have two folders inside home Ubuntu. Okay, inside Ubuntu I have two folders. One is funny and another one is funny2. So now what I want to do is, I want to copy two files which is in funny to the folder funny2. How I will do? You can do from here, or else you can go to funny folder. Ls, there are two files, right? Cp star means if you give star inside this current directory, if there are 100 files, it will take all the files. Star means everything. Cp star to where I need to copy? Inside home Ubuntu, there is a folder called funny2. Okay, funny2. Enter. Now go and check. Okay, I'm going one step back. Inside that I'm going to funny folder 2. ls. Got it, right? Now go to funny one. Sorry, cd funny. So now I have files here and funny2 also. So if I don't want files here, I want only these two files should be copied to funny2. How I will do? I will do move command. Move mv, move means mv. Star means all folder, all files inside this folder. Where I have to move? Move Ubuntu 2. If you hit ls, there will be no files. That means, have you understood, right? What is the difference between cp and move? Cp means your files will be here and you are copying to there. Move means you are simply moving from this directory to another directory. Difference అర్థమైంది కదా. సో మన ల్యాప్టాప్లో చేసే కాపీ పేస్ట్ అలా మూవ్ అలాగే సేమ్. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు ఫనీ లోపల ఏం లేదు. ఇప్పుడు ఫనీ టూ. See, you got your two files here, right? Replace automatically, move will replace. Okay, have you understood the difference between move and cp, right? Cp and move. For example, let's assume I'm going to again to funny folder. Let's assume I have inside funny folder, I am creating one more two folders called sample and sample1 something. Inside funny there are two folders. So inside I'm going to sample now, sample folder, and here I will create some 3 or 4 files. Okay, sample demo.txt, sample1 demo.txt, and sample2 demo.txt, and sample3 demo.txt. Okay, here see I created these many files. Inside sample folder also I am going to create one more folder called here also I am going to create 2 files. Okay, now I'm coming back to my home directory. Okay, pwd Ubuntu. I have funny folder. Inside I have one directory called sample and another directory called sample1. 3 pt install. One minute, I will show you one example. Okay, see my directory how I created. Inside home Ubuntu I created a folder called funny. Inside that I created a folder called sample, and I created one more called sample child, In sample child, I have these two files, sample new.json and sample new.json, sample one new.json. Inside sample, I have these files. See, if I go to sample cd, sample, see, I have these four files and I have sample child also. So now what's my use case is, I want to move that data which is in inside funny. Now I'm clearing funny to folder, guys. Yes. So I'm removing these two files. How I'm going to remove? RM space minus RF star if you give, automatically everything will be deleted. Okay. RM minus RF space your folder space your file name. So inside funny2 there is no file as of now. What I'm doing? What's my use case now? What's my use case? I want to move these two data to funny. How can I move? How can I copy? Can you tell me the command? CP space. These two I want. These two files I need to copy. These two folders, sorry, these two folders I need to copy to funny2 folder, which is in home Ubuntu. CP space star slash star CP star. Star means this is your source. Means you are going to copy these two folders from this source. Where is your destination? Home Ubuntu. Okay, fine, perfect. So now what it is saying? It is not copying actually. Why? Because previously what we did, guys, we copied the files from funny to funny2. Okay, now what's my use case? Inside directory there are multiple directories and multiple files. How can I copy? So you need to copy recursively, nothing. You need to add cp space hyphen r, means it will copy from inside sample how many folders, subfolders, files it is there, everything it is going to copy as a recursively. So you need to add cp hyphen r space your source. In this directory, all files, all folders to your destination where home Ubuntu Funny2. Enter. Now you can go back and check. Got it? Go to sample or else you can tree sample. Got it? So this is the basic difference between the use case of recursiveness. Next, I want to check what is the size of this folder. Okay, what is the size of this folder? How can I check? Okay, the command is du-sh space sample. Say 8 KB, that's it. Okay, du-sh. Okay, du-sh is the command. Huh? Repeat. Okay. So I have two folders, right? I want to know the size of each folder. So how I should know? Just du space sh space your folder name. Okay. Du is the command. Use it to check your size of your folder in the Linux. Okay. Similarly, what are the ports open inside this server? How to check what are the open ports? Netstat, network statistics hyphen ulpn. See, there is a SSH port 22 open from anywhere. Okay, so like this we'll see, and we understood, right? Netstat ulpn. Okay, these are the basic commands. Still, to update your server, update your Linux machine, Ubuntu, we are going to use a package called apt. Apt is the default package for Ubuntu. Okay, apt hyphen get space update space hyphen y. If you give this command, your server will get updated. Okay, so by using apt only we can download everything. By using apt package is the package for Ubuntu. Okay, so have you understood, right, difference between cp and cp-r? Okay, cp-r, your source to your destination. So this is the command. So these are some basic commands. Just remember these commands. Okay. And there is a one more command called top command. There is a top command to check your CPU and memory utilization. So if you hit on top, so for the root parent process ID, for process ID, so what is the CPU percentage? See, percentage of memory is 0.3 and percent of CPU is 0.3%. And top is the command to check CPU utilization and memory utilization for your server. Okay. Okay. And df-h. Df-h is the command to check which directory is pointed to which system in the Linux. See, for example, we created how much, guys? On the root volume, we created 8 GB, right? While creating the server, we created 8 GB root volume. See, it is pointed to slash means root. How much size? 7.7 size, 7.7 GB. We use 1.4 GB for all the system packages and everything it will consume. And available space is 6.3 GB. Okay, and 19% we consume from the root volume. Okay, df-h is the command to check percentage of your disk size. Okay, and one more command. There is a one more command. Okay, called lsblk. lsblk is the command to list out all the block storage, means EBS volumes. For example, we created a root volume with 8 GB, right? Right? See, size is 8 GB. It is pointed to slash. So, for example, I want to use separate 1 TB EBS volume. For example, if I created a funny2, this funny2 folder is there, right? Funny2 folder wants 1 TB volume. So how we will do? That I will tell you. We are going to create new EBS volume. We are going to attach it to the server, and we are going to mount newly created volume to this folder. Okay. So you understood basic commands, right? So practice these commands. Tomorrow, what I will do is I will push sample application to GitHub. From GitHub, I will host in your AWS EC2 instance, and I will point it to domain name. Okay. Tomorrow also, I'm going to cover how to create users in the Linux, how to enable password authentication. As of now, what you are going to do, you are going to log into your EC2 instance with private key, right? So with this private key, you are going to log in. Instead of this private key, I want to log in with username and password. See, if you look into our architecture diagram, which I have told you, 1 minute. See, if you look into this architecture diagram, so basically all the applications we are going to deploy in the private subnets. Okay. Then how to log into my EC2 instance, which is in private subnet? I cannot log in from outside now. Then how we are going to log in? So for this, we are going to create one EC2 instance in the public subnet called a jump server or bastion host. Okay. Jump server or bastion host in any one of the public subnet. Okay. Then what you are going to do? For this EC2 instance which launched in private subnets, you are going to allow SSH port 22 connections only from this bastion host. So how we are going to log into this instance, which is in private subnet? First, you will log into this Bastion server, okay, with the username and password. Then you will log into your instances, which is in the private subnet. Okay, got it? Okay, practice these basic commands today. Tomorrow we are going to cover all these topics. Okay, any doubts, guys? Chandan and what is this Galaxy M30? Any doubts, Chandan? Okay. Okay, fine. Practice this session. I am sharing the uploading the video to I'm sharing the video with Subbu. He will share you. Okay, fine. Thank you.